Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fanfiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Kai's looked at Naruto, then to Pain, then back to Naruto. What are you really, Naruto? Kai said, his mouth moving like a fish. The only one in this room who wasn't aware of that fact was you. Suigetsu said, sounding like a smart ass. But that means you're the Hokage's son and you two are sibling. Kai said, pointing to Mito. Why didn't you say anything? I mean, if I would have known you were the Hokage's son, then my guys would have never attacked you. Kai, shut up. Naruto said, getting annoyed by Kai's sudden change of attitude towards him. But I want to know how you know my name and why you came here. Naruto said, glaring at Pain, wanting to be attacked by him at any moment. As you probably know, Orochimaru was once part of my organization. Pain said, sounding like a lawyer giving his opening statement. He betrayed me, however, so I sent one of my associates to take care of him. Orochimaru was unfortunately able to escape when my associate invaded his base. We were able to collect all sorts of data from his base that he was unable to take with him or destroy. This information had all of his ongoing experiments in them, which includes you, Naruto Namikaze, who has the unique power to control vectors. Naruto's eyes darted to the side so Pain would catch his frustrated look. Pain really did have his number. So why did you come here to talk to me? I'm sure Orochimaru had a number of other test subjects with unique skills. That may be true, but none of them seemed as promising as you. What I came here for is to offer you a membership into the Akatsuki, a group of S-rank missing neens. Pain said. Well, I'm not an S-rank, so wouldn't that be a problem? Naruto said. You are an S-rank in everything but title. I have spies everywhere, so I know about your part in the Konoha invasion, and I also know that you are under watch by the Leaf, and your counter system is all but useless to you now. Pain said. What about the brats and Suigetsu over there? They're not S-class, so will I have to leave them behind? Naruto asked, trying to find out more about this guy. What about me? Kai said. No one paid him any mind. Even if they won't be full-fledged members of the Akatsuki, they can still come with you and help out the Akatsuki in other ways. Pain said, like he expected the question, which made Naruto even more concerned of how much he knew about them. Let's say I do decide to join. I doubt you putting together a group of S-class ninjas to start a book club. What is your goal? Naruto asked. Right now the Akatsuki won't be making any big moves, but our goal is to capture all the jinchuriki and extracted their tail beasts. Pain said. Silence. Naruto didn't know what to say. The truth was that Naruto wouldn't have a problem joining the Akatsuki. He was basically being handed the answer to his current problem, and if all he had to do was take down jinchuriki, then he should be fine, even if they were the strongest weapons of the shinobi world. The problem was that Naruko was a jinchuriki, and Naruto wasn't sure if his brats would be able to join an organization that's goal was to hunt them down, especially Mito. It was strange for Naruto to think of Mito's well-being over his own reason, but as much as he hated to admit it, he had grown attached to the brats. Well, Mito, what do you think? If we join them, then you'll likely have to kill Leaf Ninja, and after that there won't be any way for you to return to the Leaf. Mito looked at her brother and at Pain, trying to make a decision. It was true that Naruko treated her horribly, but Mito knew that extracting a tailed beast meant death, and Mito didn't know if she could really help kill her sister. It was true Kushina survived the extraction, but that was a miracle that couldn't be expected to happen again. Mito looked into Naruto's red eyes. Would he be mad if they didn't join? Mito didn't think so, but one thing was for sure: if they didn't join, it was going to cause Naruto tons of problems, since he would have to think of something to get them out of the land of frost undetected. Mito probably stood there for a good 2 minutes trying to decide it, but no one rushed her, not even Pain. Mito took a deep breath and made her decision. My old family drove me away. I've found a new one. Mito said, looking at Naruto and Suigetsu, her two insane older brothers, and Hanabi and Hitomi, her two sisters. We'll join. I'm pleased to hear that. Pain said, turning to Naruto. I already have a base set up for you. There is no way they'll find you once you're there. Once you arrive, you'll be briefed on what to do. You're not coming with. Kai said, as if it hadn't occurred to him that he wasn't invited. No, I'm a busy man, there is already someone here to guide you. Pain said, answering his question. Then the strangest thing happened, something that Naruto could only describe as a Venus flytrap emerged from the floor only to open up to reveal a person inside. At least Naruto thought it was a person. One side of his body was completely black and the other part was completely white. Hello, where's Zestu? The plant said in two different voices at the same time. I'm guessing you're the one who's taking us. Naruto said calmly, although he was a little creeped out. That's righty. The white side said, even though Naruto only knew this because his mouth moved on the white side where on the black side it seemed to be missing. Alright then brats, get ready, you'll be tagging along with Zestu for a while. Suigetsu, make a water clone to make sure nothing goes wrong. Naruto said. Wait, you're not coming with us? Hanabi said. No, I don't want Janaya's spies to trail us, and if just you three leave the house under the cover of a henge a little after I wander around the village, then they won't follow you. Naruto said. But I though we're joining because it would let us get away from Jiraiya. Hitomi said. And that's exactly what we're doing, but we just met these guys and I don't have too much trust in them, so once I'm informed you'd be safely dropped off at the base, then I'll come. Naruto said. But if you don't trust them, then why are you leaving us with the? Mito said. We have nothing to gain from killing you. It would only set back our plans if Naruto didn't join. Pain said. Although it's highly likely you'll be attacked if you stay here, Naruto. I didn't know you cared? Naruto said. I don't, but it would be problematic if you were to be killed. Pain said. Just come with us. Hanabi said. I don't want to be left alone with that thing. I don't appreciate being referred to as a thing. Black Zesta said. I'm sure you'll be fine, besides you'll also have Suigetsu's water clone with you. Naruto said, pointing to the clone Suigetsu had already made and hinged to look like some random person. I assume this arrangement will be fine? Naruto asked Zestu. We'll come tell you when the girls have been dropped off along with proof we didn't eat them. Zesta said. Then it's all set. Naruto said, pretending not to notice that Zesta said eat instead of kill. The girls did notice, however, and you could feel the nervousness radiating off them. They knew that Naruto had already made his decisions to stay and there was nothing they could do about it. They went up to go pack their bags, and during this time Pain left under a very powerful genjutsu was not to be seen by the spies. Once the girls were packed and hinged, Zestu also transformed into another person. Alright, I'll leave the house and draw the attention of the spies away from the house, and then you'll follow Zesta to the base. Suigetsu, you'll stay in the house since they don't know about you and there's no reason for you to leave. Naruto said. Why are you having me make a clone instead of going with them? Suigetsu asked. Because I'm almost certain we'll be attacked by the leaf before the brats make it, and I want you to surprise them. Naruto said. Suigetsu smiled at the thought of an upcoming battle. The girls, however, wished that Naruto would come with them even more now. Hey, what about me? Kai said, getting really irritated. We can't have any loose ends. Naruto said darkly. Suigetsu, kill him. Suigetsu didn't waste a second, picking up his sword and lobbing off Kai's head. The girl stifled a scream at the gruesome display. Zesta was licking his lips. Mind him, I take the body I could as a snack for the road. Do what you want. Naruto said, walking out the door. Once Naruto was outside, he could feel them. Every eye looking at him, following his every move. When he took a step, he could feel the eyes shift a little, and it was exactly what Naruto wanted. He walked down the street, never seeing a soul, but knew they were all around him. During this time, the brats, Zestu and Suigetsu's clone, snuck out of the house. Minato and Jiraiya watched Shikamaru leave the room. If Shikamaru's evaluation of Accelerator's skills is correct, then he's not going to be an easy enemy to beat. Jiraiya said. I know, but his plan also gives you the most chance of success. Minato said. Yeah, who are you going to assemble to go after him? Jiraiya asked. Well, Shikamaru is a requirement along with Time Guy, who's a big part of the plan, and I know that Naruko will want to fight too. Minato said, giving Jiraiya a smile. Are you crazy, Minato? Naruko is a genin and you going on an A-rank mission, she'll be killed. Jiraiya yelled, slamming his hands on Minato's desk. It's not like she not going to be protected because I'm going too. Minato said, instantly putting an end to Jiraiya's outburst. I see, who else? Jiraiya said. Kakashi, Itachi, and since his brother and most of his team will already be going, Sasuke too, along with a handful of Anbu. Minato said. I'd also like you to come as well. Sorry, no can do, Minato. Jiraiya said. While you're chasing after Accelerator, I'm going to investigate the village hidden in the sound, so if it turns out Accelerator doesn't know where Naruto is, then Otogakure should give us some information. I see, while I trust your decision. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to the hospital to see how Mina's doing. Minato said. Tell her I said hi. Jiraiya said. Will do. Minato replied. When Minato entered the hospital, he saw Kushina and Naruko sitting by Mina's bed. She had an IV attached to her arm which was supplying her with painkiller which she desperately needed. There were bandages wrapped around her torso and chest. Hey Minima, how you doing? Minato asked as he took a seat on the other side of the bed across from Naruko and Kushina. I'm feeling a lot better, Tsunade really helped me out. Minima replied. Well, she did manage to patch Lee up good as new, which should be considered a miracle after what Gaara did to him, but I have even better news for you three. Minato said. Thanks to you, Minima, we found out a lot about Accelerator's power and came up with a plan to beat him, and that means we'll finally get to see Naruto again. The girls and Kushina shoot up. Really, I'm going to get to see my baby boy. Kushina said. That's the plan. Minato said. I'm making a task force right now to go after if, and guess what, Naruko, you get to be on it. Really? Naruko said, her eyes lighting up. When do we leave? Hold on, Naruko. We don't even know where Accelerator is yet, but Jiraiya suspects he's going to spot it in the Land of Frost very soon. Minato said. Plus it's going to take a little bit to get ready because we have to wait for some people to learn a special skill to beat him. Okay, then I'll train twice as hard. Naruko said. She wanted to do this so badly it hurt. She was responsible for one of her siblings running away, so bring one back could at least somewhat make up for what she did. As the days passed, the task force trained hard to prepare for the upcoming battle with Accelerator, who was confirmed to be in the Land of Frost. They went over the plan again and again until they could do it in their sleep. Everyone wanted to bring Naruto back, and the only way to that was to beat the information out of Accelerator. So when the day finally came to leave for the Land of Frost, everyone was ready. Minato, Team Guy, Shikamaru, Kakashi, Itachi, Naruko, Sasuke, and 4 Anbu were assembled at the village gate. In terms of power and people, the task force was far beyond the norm, and all to capture one ninja who could be anywhere from B rank to S rank. Alright, our mission is to capture and interrogate the B rank ninja Accelerator. Minato said. Hi. The task force yelled. Let's move out. Minato said, and the group ran full speed towards the Land of Frost. Naruto and Suigetsu were playing cards in the living room. It had been a couple days since the girls left and they should be at the base soon. They were alright since Suigetsu could apparently communicate with water, and since his clone was made for water he could tell it was still fine, and if anything happened to the girls it would and disappear, letting Suigetsu know. They're here. Suigetsu said in the middle of the card game. And there's a lot of them. The water tell you? Naruto asked. Yeah, Suigetsu said. I'm still not sure how you can talk to water, but if you say they're here then I guess I'll believe you. Get into position. Naruto said as he got up and left the house. Suigetsu had a crazy look on his face. As he sealed his sword in a scroll, so it could become liquefied too. Then he liquefied himself and started leaking through the floorboards. Naruto walked around the city for a bit and it didn't take him too long to pick up some friends. There were 2 of them following him. They were on either side and they were good. If Naruto hadn't been looking for them he would have never spotted them, so they must be Umbu. However, if the Leaf thought that tricks like this would be enough to bring him down, then they had another thing coming. Naruto had his hands in his pockets ever since he left the house and they were filled with pebbles. Naruto took a step forward like he normally would, but right when his heel touched the ground he used his vectors to launch himself off his heel and went flying backwards. It took no time at all for him to be positioned behind the guards. Naruto took his hands out of his pocket and threw a pebble at each one of their heads. One was quick enough to dodge, but the other one was caught off guard with Naruto's sudden change in direction and a pebble was sent through his brain. Naruto went flying back a little farther before he put his feet on the ground and stopped himself. All the people that were currently in the street ran away in a panic, just leaving Naruto and the Umbu. Naruto didn't have time to engage though as kunais rained down on him from every direction. Naruto didn't even move and the kunais were sent back to cinder. Naruto didn't hear any fleshing being hit however, so the attacker must have moved out of the way. Speaking of attackers, the Umbu had fled and Naruto couldn't see anyone in sight. That was until Naruto heard someone screaming above him. It was Guy, who looked like he was about to drop kick Naruto, but inside he missed and kicked the ground in front of Naruto. The kick was so powerful that it reduced the road to gravel, and Naruto realized he was trying to make him lose his footing. Naruto pushed himself off the ground and high into the air. It felt nice being so high above everyone. They were so much smaller, so much easier to crush. Naruto's happiness was short-lived as 2 Umbu jumped off building on either side of him. Both of them were doing hand signs thinking that Naruto wouldn't be able to move in midair. How wrong they were. Naruto repelled the air behind him, which allowed him to shoot towards the Umbu. Naruto wrapped his hand around the Umbu's mask and threw him back down to earth. The impact wasn't enough to kill him, but Naruto produced 2 cyclones from his back and grid the Umbu up in a blood-red tornado. Naruto went back to earth too, but his descent was a lot more graceful and a lot less deadly than the Umbu's. Naruto turned around to look for his next opponent only to find himself eye to eye with Itachi Uchiha. Itachi cast a genjutsu on Naruto that made him seem like he was made out of paper. Naruto suspect there was more to it, but he didn't get to see as he made his chakra go haywire to break the genjutsu. Naruto tried to punch Itachi right when he broke free, but Itachi was too fast and dodged out of sight. Naruto was frustrated that he got away, but was distracted when he heard someone popping their knuckles behind him. Naruto turned around to see Rock Lee behind him. Naruto wanted to burst out laughing. Why would they send a guy who could only do taijutsu to fight him? They must know by now that he can reflect anything. Naruto looked around to find his real opponent, but no, it was only Lee. Everyone else had vanished. Lee ran at Naruto, getting ready to punch him in the face. Fine, whatever, come over here and break your wrist. It going to be such a shame after all, you just got your arm healed after Gaara's attack. Lee was close to Naruto and threw his punch. Naruto just waited to hear the snapping sound, but that didn't happen. Instead, Lee's fist collided with Naruto's face. Naruto didn't lose his footing but went sliding back quite a ways. Naruto could feel blood running from his mouth and down his lip. Naruto could feel the pain, but his mind was in overdrive, so it didn't really sink in. How did Lee get past his reflection? Could the Leaf have found a way around his reflection? No, that couldn't be right, because if they had, Guy or Itachi would have hit him too, so what made it so this guy could hit him? Naruto knew something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. There was only one thing for sure: Lee was able to hit him, and that made him dangerous. Naruto would have to kill him. He got ready to charge Lee only to discover he couldn't move. Naruto looked around to see what was stopping him, only to see the horrible truth. Lee had pushed him into the shadow of a nearby building and Shikamaru had his shadow connected to that shadow. In other words, Naruto had been caught. Shikamaru was crouched in an alley with a smirk on his face. It was true that Accelerator's ability to move in the air and created cyclones had caught him off ground, but his plan was going great. All his predictions had been correct. Shikamaru thought back to his talk with Minato and Jiraiya. So what's this plan to beat Accelerator? Minato asked. Let me start out with his skills. Shikamaru said. At the start of his fight with Minima, she used one of her chains to try and hit him, but instead it bounced off him without dealing any damage. He wasn't paying any attention to her at the time, so the only conclusion is that he has some sort of shield active at all times. So the question is what the properties of his shield are and how can we break it or get through it? I looked for this solution the rest of the fight and I think I figured it out. You see, the move he used to give Minima her injury was him slamming a rubber ball into the ground and it would bounce back up and hit his hand, then go back down with more force than it had before. You could say it was accelerated, so his shield has the ability to repel objects. This would make him seem untouchable if it wasn't for one thing. When he threw the ball the first time, it bounced off a wall and he caught it. If his shield repels objects, how did he caught the ball? Minato and Jiraiya were leaned in so far that Shikamaru thought they were going to fall over. I guess he could have turned it off for that moment when he wanted to catch the ball, but if that was the case, then the ball should have injured his hand, instead it slowed down. Shikamaru continued. That's not the only thing. If his shield repels objects, how can he walk? Shouldn't he repel the ground under him? And how can he pick things up? Shouldn't those objects be repelled as well? There's only one answer: he can modify his shield. This gives us the reason why he doesn't repel the ground, he only repels moving things. Now this might have been the end of it, but it doesn't explain how he was able to catch the ball. This is where I have to start hypothesizing, but I believe his shield works on a system of calculations. This means he tells his shield to send everything away from him unless he tells it otherwise, like for example to let a rubber ball through, but slow it down. This would explain his ability to throw rocks so fast without having to wind up his shots. Minato and Jiraiya were shocked that Shikamaru had been able to figure all that out for just one fight, but Shikamaru, how does that help? Use all you told uses that is impossible to touch him. Minato asked. Because his shield's greatest power is also its greatest weakness. Shikamaru said with that smirk that let you know he was really on a roll. You see, he might be able to change the calculations to let certain things through, but that means the regular repeal calculations are always the same. You see, you can't use calculations to just say go away. If that was the case, he would have to tell it to change the calculation every time he changed position or a new object came at him from a different angle or speed or was a different substance. He obviously can't do that since it would take forever and he would have to know what the object was and where it was coming from beforehand. So how does he do it? By not telling it to move away from him. No, he has it set so that anything that comes at him is just reflected instead of repelled. Shikamaru was grinning like he had just given them the answer, but Minato and Jiraiya were still confused. But Shikamaru, isn't repelling and reflation the same thing? Jiraiya asked. Not even close. Shikamaru said, sounding offended. You see, repelling would be if anything that came at him would be sent away, but reflection would be that anything he touches gets reverses, not sent away. So let's say something was touching him but going away from him, what would happen? Minato's eyes lit up. He would reflect it and it come towards him. Minato said, jumping up from his seat. That's right, Shikamaru said. So if we have someone like Lee or Guy pulls their punch right before they hit Accelerator, then he'll reflect it and end up basically hitting himself, and if that happens, then that opens up all sorts possibilities. Like the punch being strong enough to push him back into my shadow jutsu. Normally it wouldn't work because the shadow would be reflected, but if Accelerator's the one moving into it, then his shield won't reflect it. Shikamaru, you're a genius. Tell Guy and Lee to start patriating pulling their punches, and I want to hear from them right when they're done. Minato said. The plan had worked with only one hiccup. Lee was the only one who could pull his punches at the right time. Everyone else either wasn't good enough at taijutsu to do it, or the ones that were had been using their own style for so long that it was incredibly difficult to punch then pull back in such an unnatural way, but Lee was good enough and hadn't fully devolved his style yet, so he was able to do. It was a dangerous punch to pull off. If he pulled too late, his wrist would be broken. If he pulled too early, nothing would happen. But now, after all that preparation and planning, Accelerator was trapped and he was still looking at Lee, trying to figure out how he hit him. There was something odd, however. Accelerator didn't even seem to be paying Shikamaru much attention, even though he had stopped him from moving. Shikamaru was trying to figure out the reason for this when out of the corner of his eye he saw a large blade swinging towards him. It would have lobed off his head if it hadn't been for Kakashi. Kakashi had seen Shikamaru almost get decapitated. The sword was already too close for Kakashi to step in and block, so he did the only thing he could. He ran towards Shikamaru and grabbed him before jumping on top of a nearby building. Once Shikamaru was safe, Kakashi looked back at the assailant. He had somehow gotten a hold of Zabuza's sword and was using it quite effectively, and he seemed to come from nowhere. Sasuke and Naruko jumped up beside Kakashi. "We're sorry, Sensei, we didn't have any gaps in our lookout, but somehow we still got through," Naruko said. "It's alright, I didn't see him either. We'll just have to take him out," Kakashi said, although it didn't change the fact that Shikamaru was forced to drop his jutsu because that guy was able to attack him. "Let's get him," Kakashi said, and the three of them jumped to engage the new enemy while Shikamaru stayed on the roof to monitor the situation. Naruto could move again thanks to Suigetsu, but there was a more urgent matter at hand. Lee was able to hit him and he still had no idea how, and Lee was running at him. Naruto wasn't going to let him get close enough to hit him again. He grabbed some pebbles from his pockets and started throwing them at Lee like a machine gun. Lee was doing a very good job at dodging them and he was getting closer. Naruto hissed, "It looks like it was time to get serious." He reached into his back pocket to get his ball, but before he could, Lee rushed him with an incredible amount of speed. Lee again punched Naruto and sent him tumbling towards the guard. Naruto was trying to get up, blood now running from his nose. Naruto was in trouble and he knew it. Lee punches hurt, and since Naruto wasn't used to getting hurt, he was already starting to feel it. It only got worse as Lee came at him when Naruto was getting to his feet and punched him in the stomach. Naruto chuffed up blood, but managed to stay on his feet. He took a swing at Lee. His vectors enhanced his speed and strength, but Lee was fast and dodged. Naruto was already breathing heavily. This was the first time he had used so much energy in a fight, and along with the pain he was feeling, it really looked like he might lose this battle. If only he could figure out how Lee was hitting him, then he could turn the fight around. He wasn't giving very much time to think though, as Lee was coming at him again. Naruto knew that he couldn't let Lee hit him another time, so right before Lee landed his punch, Naruto pushed off the ground and jumped onto the rooftops, and that's when he saw Lee's arm was going backwards. He was pulling his punches. It all clicked why only Lee could hit him, why Lee hadn't been kicking him, since a kick was a lot harder to pull back than a punch. Naruto smiled. The secret was out. Naruto had to admit it was clever, and if he hadn't figured it out, it could have done some real damage, but now he knew just how to defend against it. All he had to do was change his reflection to an acceleration. So anything coming towards Naruto would not be reflected but gain speed. Normally this would be a bad thing, but since Lee was pulling his punches, it would accelerate his arm backwards with enough force to dislocate his shoulder. There was also no outside sign to show that he changed the properties of his shield, so Lee wouldn't know, and once Lee's shoulder was dislocated, Naruto would change it back to reflection and continue the fight. Naruto changed it just as Lee was jumping up on the roof and was winding up for another punch. Naruto still acted like Lee would hit him so he wouldn't get suspicious. "Come just a little closer," Naruto thought, but just before it looked like Naruto's plan was going to work, the worst possible thing happened. Minato teleported in front of with a Rasengan in his hand. That when Naruto saw the seal on Lee's back that he hadn't noticed before, but that was hardly of any matter now as Naruto's head was racing. What the hell? Why was there a seal on Lee, and why did Minato teleport at this exact moment? He couldn't have known my reflection was off, could he? Wait just a moment, Hokage, that's not all there is to my plan. Shikamaru spoke to Minato and Jiraiya in Minato's office. What else could there be? Minato asked. You see, if Accelerator's as smart as I think he is, then he's likely to figure out what's going on, but we can use that to our advantage. Shikamaru explained. Go on, Minato said as he settled back down in his seat. Very well, you see, when Accelerator realizes what's going on, he'll probably adjust his shield accordingly. Shikamaru said. If it was me, I would switch the shield so it acts with a force that would push the force, so when Lee or Guy pulls their punch, their arms would be shooting back. This is the easiest way to solve the problem, and all it would take is reversing his already existing reflection. So what you're saying is Accelerator has a counter for your plan? Jiraiya said. That's exactly what I'm saying, but what he doesn't know is that we want that to happen. Shikamaru said. The shield is something physically and not just an act of Accelerator's will, but we can't see it, so it means that he can make changes to it without us knowing. We do have a way to know when he makes changes, however, and it all thanks to what his shield is made of, the thing all ninja use for all ninjutsu, chakra. We also just happen to have a certain white-eyed clan who are made for seeing chakra. So what you're saying is we attack him when Niji, who just so happens to be on Lee's team, see it change? Minato said. That right, Accelerator's shield has to flare at the very least for him to change it, and when that happens you can teleport while his defenses is down and really make it hurt. Shikamaru said, proud of himself for coming up with a plan like this. And it worked beautifully. The truth was that Naruto probably did have enough time to switch back to his reflection, but he didn't, all because he looked into his father's eyes. They were filled with the fire, the anger Minato had for Accelerator. He had hurt his daughter, mocked Kushina about her missing kids, and withheld information about Naruto. Then he left the village with a smirk on his face and blood on his hands. And because of that, Naruto hesitated for just a moment and the Rasengan was slammed into his stomach. Naruto felt his stomach twist into a knot and his insides seemed to explode. Naruto puked up more blood than he knew had in him before he was sent spiraling through the air. He didn't know how far he went, but it was quite a ways. He would have gone even farther if he hadn't hit the wall of a building. Maybe hit wasn't the right word, it was more like crash through it and tumbling on the hardwood floor before coming to a stop. Naruto laid there on the floor spitting up blood and his stomach on fire. It was a stronger Rasengan than it normally would have been because Naruto helped accelerate the damn thing. It was the worst pain Naruto had felt in his either life, and since pain wasn't something he was accustomed to, it was a miracle he didn't black out. But it was the only thing he could focus on. He couldn't even think of the right calculation to change his reflection back to normal. Every time he tried, he would go back to the pain and forget. Naruto was a sitting duck and he knew it. He couldn't think of calculations, and the Leaf Nin were probably coming after him right now. It looks like he should have gone with the girls after all. Just when Naruto had accepted his fate, he heard a familiar. How does it feel to get your ass handed to you? Suigetsu said. Naruto looked up at him with a great deal of pain. How do you get away from your fight so fast? Liquefied myself and went into the sewers just like how I got past them in the first place. Suigetsu said. Whatever, we just need to get out of here before the Hokage finds us. Naruto said, trying to get to his feet, but falling on his butt. You'll have to help we walk. I can't, your reflection will just send me away. Suigetsu said. It not working, you'll be able to touch me. Naruto said, coughing up some more blood. Alright then, Suigetsu said, picking him up bridal style. Normally Naruto would have killed him for that, but he was in way too much pain to care. Suigetsu left the house and started darting through the alleyways. But as they went on, they realized that they weren't going to escape. The Leaf Nin were looking everywhere for them, and Suigetsu, who wasn't known for having the greatest stamina anyways, was even slower thanks to him having to carry Naruto around, who may have just be a rock for all the good he was doing. When it finally looked like they were going to get caught, a miracle happened. Well, it looks like we made it just in time. White Zesta said, who was stinking out of the alley wall. You two have gotten in some trouble. Black Zesta said. Whatever, just get us out of here. Suigetsu said. How you suggest we do that? Zesta said. You can warp through wall, can't you do that with us too? Suigetsu asked. I can only do one person at a time and it takes a lot out of me, which is the reason we didn't do it with the girls. Zesta said. Suigetsu, liquefy yourself into your water bottles, then he can take both of us. Naruto said. Are you kidding? Do you really think I can fit in there? Suigetsu said. Well, you better, or you're getting left behind. Naruto yelled. Suigetsu managed to squeeze himself into his 2 water bottles and Naruto grabbed them, allowing Zesta to grab Naruto and take them to the base in record time. Once Zesta dropped them off at the base, Naruto opened the water bottles, letting Suigetsu out before coughing up more blood and collapsing to the floor. The girls heard this and ran out to see Naruto lying on the ground in his own blood. Kami, what happened to you? Mito screamed, running up to her brother. Doesn't matter, Naruto said weakly, just get me to a bed, I need to sleep. Suigetsu picked him up much to the girls' surprise and carried him to one on the many beds they had in the base. Once Naruto was in, the pain was finally too much and he blacked out. When Naruto finally came to, he was still in pain but not nearly as much as he had been in before. Naruto looked around to see where he was, having forgotten he was in one of the Akatsuki's bases, but there was something else that caught Naruto's eye. Hanabi was sitting on a stool right next to his bed. She had dark circles under her eyes and was looking out onto space. Are you all right? Naruto asked. This seemed to bring Hanabi back to reality as her eyes snapped to Naruto. Thank Kami, you're all right, Hanabi said as she jumped onto Naruto and hugged him, completely forgetting that this would normal result in her getting sent flying back. Thanks, Naruto. Reflection. Hey, get off me. Naruto said, only to notice that Hanabi had fallen asleep in that position. What the hell, Hanabi, don't go to sleep. Naruto yelled. Just then Suigetsu walked into the roof drinking his water bottle. Well, isn't that cute? He said. Shut up. Naruto said, although he was still in pain so it didn't sound like a threat. Why are you going to do? Get out of that bed and kill me, Suggest mocked. Naruto knew that he couldn't and just settled with asking Suigetsu how long he had been out. 2 days. The girls yelled at me when you went under. Yelling at me saying why I didn't protect you or what happened. So to get them to shut up I told them that you got the crap beat out of you by the Hokage. After that the girls just went to being sad and waiting for you to wake up. Hanabi there waited by your bed for the entire 2 days, never leaving or sleeping. Naruto looked down at the sleeping girl on his chest. What any idiot. Naruto said, but he didn't really mean it. By the way, Zesta said that he would give you the finer detail about the Akatsuki. Should I call him and tell him you're up? Suigetsu asked. No, I'm still really tired. I'm going back to sleep here in a minute. Naruto said, and it was the truth. It was amazing that just being awake for a few minutes could take so much out of him. Suit yourself, Suigetsu said, leaving the room. Now that he was gone, looked down at the sleeping Hanabi, trying to figure out what to do. He tried pushing her off, but he was too weak and Hanabi's grip was too strong. It also didn't look like he would be able to wake her up. Naruto pain had subsided enough out that he could switch back to reflection and force her off, but he deiced that would be a pain in the ass and just laid down with Hanabi on top of him. At least he told himself it would be a pain in the ass. The truth was it was actually kind of nice. The task force walked back into Konoha not with smiles of success but frowns of disappointment. The mission had been a failure. Accelerator and his partner, who had been identified as the missing Miss Nin Suigetsu, had disappeared. Minato was furious with himself for sending Accelerator so far. If only he hadn't been so angry, then he could have kept him in sight. There was nothing that could be done now though. They searched everywhere, but there was no trace of Accelerator. When they got in the village, no one in the task force said anything and just wandered off to their own homes. How are we going to explain this to Kasan and Minima? Naruko asked. I don't know. Minato said. We lost our lead in Tuumbu on that mission. Those were the only words they said to each other the entire way back. When they walked in the house, Kushina and a recovered Minima were waiting for them. Welcome back, Kushina said. How'd it go? Minima asked, although by the looks on their faces she already knew it didn't go well. Accelerator escaped, was all Minato said before heading up to his room. Minato, wait, Kushina said, following him up there, leaving Naruko and Minima alone. So I see you all better. Naruko said just to say something. Yeah, but I got a pretty bad scar. Minima said, lifting up her shirt to reveal a circular scar just under her breasts. I guess I should count myself. Luckily my back healed up without one, and it's not like anyone will be able to see this one. Yeah, at least that's good. Naruko said quietly. Naruko, what happened? Did it really go that bad? Minima asked. Not really. It's not like we had a huge amount of deaths, and most of us knew going into it that it was highly likely that Accelerator would escape once he found out Lee could hit him. Naruko said, tears starting to form in her eyes. But for me it wasn't even a fight. I didn't even get close to Accelerator. Because if I had, he would have killed me in 2 seconds. Naruko yelled, really starting to cry now. He's our age, but he took out 2 Umbu like it was nothing. Even his partner was our age and he was a monster. Sasuke and Kakashi all fought him, but he held his ground against all of us. It was like Sasuke and I weren't even there. Suigetsu was really only fighting Kakashi and we were just some bystanders. Naruko rolled up her sleeve to reveal bandages wrapped around her forearm. He cut me with his sword, and he wasn't even looking in my direction. Naruko said, tears running down her face and onto the floor. I was so weak there was no point in me even going. Minima ran towards Naruko and embraced her. It's okay, Naruko. We're both weak right now, but we'll get stronger. Strong enough so when it truly counts we'll be able to beat Accelerator. Minima said, leaking tears of her own. Things will get better. Too bad they would not. It all started when Jiraiya got back a few days later. He immediately had a meeting with Minato, who then held a family meeting inside the mansion. What's this all about? Kushina asked Minima. I don't know, Jiraiya wouldn't tell me. He just said he needed to talk to all of us. Minato replied. Just then Jiraiya walked in the room and took a seat on the couch across from Minato, Kushina, Naruko, and Minima. I could have sent this by Toad, but I thought you needed to hear it from me. Jiraiya said. I infiltrated Otogakure and I found out where Naruto is. The Namakes sat there stunned after losing Accelerator. Jiraiya had pulled through. Minato didn't believe Jiraiya would find anything since Orochimaru would have fled Otogakure, but it looks like he was wrong. Well then tell us where he is. Kushina shouted, standing up. Jiraiya signed. You already know where he is. In fact, you've all met him just recently, but you know him by Accelerator. That can't be true. Minato yelled, also standing up. Well, it is. Jiraiya said. How do you know? Minato yelled. Because the snake told me himself. Jiraiya yelled. Minato stopped what he was about to say next and noticed that Jiraiya was slumped down on the couch. He looked exhausted. When I got to Otogakure it was abandoned except for one person, Orochimaru. Now this wasn't the real Orochimaru, just a shadow clone, but he told me that Naruto did know who his parents were and how he escaped when the base was attacked, and sometime after that changed his name to Accelerator. How do you know he wasn't lying? Minato asked, finding it hard to believe that Hai-Sun was the psychopathic monster known as Accelerator. I guess he could have been, but Naruto being Accelerator explains so many things. Jiraiya said. Why he came to the village when he was a kid. Why he killed the guards when we were going to ask them questions. But why didn't he want us to know it was him? Minima asked, unconsciously touching the scare Naruto gave her. He must have wanted to come back when he escaped from Orochimaru since he came to the Leaf, but since Umbu were called on him when he came he must have thought he wasn't wanted. Jiraiya said. That can't be. Kushina said, her eyes dilating. Are you saying we forced Naruto away? Jiraiya didn't say anything, but they all knew that it was true. Kushina broke down in tears and fell to her knees. Kushina, it's alright, I'm sure if we apologize to him then he'll understand and come back. Minato stopped. He just remembered that he had slammed a Rasengan into his son's stomach. How could he ever apologize for that? That's not the only bad news I've come to talk about. Jiraiya said, looking deeply troubled. Orochimaru also gave me some information about the group known as the Akatsuki. Minato managed to somewhat calm down, but only to hear what this other issue was. I thought Orochimaru was part of the Akatsuki. Why would he leak information on them? He left the Akatsuki some time ago. In fact, they were the ones that attacked his base, allowing Naruto to escape. Jiraiya said. So I'm guessing Orochimaru is hoping we'll kill each other off because the Akatsuki's goal is to capture all the tailed beasts, which puts Naruko in danger. Why do they want the tailed beasts? Minama asked. Who knows, but it can't be good. Jiraiya said. What else do we know about the Akatsuki? Minato asked. Jiraiya sighed. That's about it. Orochimaru only told me about their goals, nothing about their members or skills. I think he just wanted us to know about them, but not have a huge advantage over them. That way we'll lose more ninja if we have to face them, and if Orochimaru is telling the truth, it looks like we'll have to. So what are we going to do about them? Naruko asked, very afraid of this new organization. The truth is, Naruko, I believe it would be best to take you out of the village for 3 years and train you so you can be better prepared to fight the Akatsuki. Jiraiya said. Wait just a minute, Jiraiya. Are you saying you want to take another one of my kids away from me? Kushina yelled. Only temporarily, Jiraiya said, trying to calm Kushina's anger. Minato, you can't let him do this. We can train Naruko and Minama in the village and Naruko will be better protected. Kushina pleaded. Minato was rubbing his forehead. He had a terrible headache. Just wait, I need to think. This is just all so much. Naruto, Mito, the Akatsuki, and what should we do with Naruko? I just can't answer these questions all at once. Plus, does Naruko want to go? Minato asked. Everyone looked at Naruko like they were expecting an answer. I don't know. Naruko said, because for her too it was a lot to handle. Well, I'll give you time to think about it. Until then, I try to find out more about the Akatsuki and where Naruto disappeared to. Jiraiya said, leaving the house. I got to go work on some things. Minato said, also leaving the house. The girls sat there in awkward silence until Naruko couldn't take it anymore. I'm going out, she said. Once outside, she felt like she could breathe. She decided to take a walk around town to clear her mind. There were just so many things that had gone wrong, and most of them were her fault. If only she had been nicer to Mito, then she wouldn't have run away. If only she had trained harder, then she could have fought Suigetsu on his level, then maybe they would have captured Naruto. Naruko was thinking about all these things when she spotted someone she hadn't seen in a very long time sitting on a bench. Hey Hinata, Naruko said, taking a seat beside her. Oh hey Naruko, Hinata said, sounding detached. I haven't seen you in a while, what have you been up to? Naruko asked, trying to start some sort of conversation to get her mind off everything. No much, just a lot of training since I'm the one who was going to have to lead the clan. Hinata sighed. Naruko looked at Hinata with sad eyes. She had forgotten that Mito hadn't been the only one to run off. Hinata's sister was also one of the escapees. Hinata must feel just as guilty about it as Naruko is about Mito. Hey Hinata, Naruko said. Hinata looked at Naruko for the first time since she sat down. Yes, Naruko. Don't worry, we may have screwed up as sisters, but I'm sure once we see them again we'll be able to make it up to them. So just keep trying and get even stronger. Naruko said, giving Hinata the thumbs up. Hinata actually smiled for the first time in a long time. Here was someone who knew what she was going through and probably had it even worse than she did, yet she could still smile and believe she could fix things, so why couldn't Hinata? You're right, Naruko, let's work hard to bring our sisters back. Mito and Hitomi were grinning like idiots when Naruto woke up. What are you two grinning about? Naruto asked with no sense of humor in his voice. Oh, nothing, just thinking that you two would make a good couple. Mito said, giggling to herself. Naruto realized what they were looking at and turned to see that Hanabi was still sleeping soundly on his chest. Sometime during the night, Hanabi had worked her way up so her arms were now wrapped around his neck and her head was resting just under his chin. Naruto just sighed. Dealing with the brats was getting tiresome. Naruto tapped the back Hanabi's head with his knuckles. Hanabi slowly opened her eyes. "Well, good morning, Hanabi. Did you sleep comfortably?" Naruto asked with the sweatiest smile he could pull off. "It was nice." Hanabi said, her mind still fogged from just wakening up. "That's nice," Naruto said, his smile slowly turning into a look that promised pain. "Now would you please get off me?" Hanabi finally realized that she was on Naruto's chest and at a speed that would put the Hokage to shame. She got off Naruto, head into line with the rest of the girls. Her face was so red that she was sure it would be tinted that way forever. I am sore. Why na accelerator? How are you feeling?" Hanabi said, tapping her fingers like her sister had always done. "I actually feel a lot better," Naruto said, getting out of bed. There was still a little pain, but it was more of an irritation than an actually problem, and since he felt fine, there was one thing he needed to do. He changed his refection back to normal. "Now since I've been out for a couple of days, I'm pretty hungry, so why don't you make me something to eat, Hanabi? After all, you made sure to keep me warm while I was sleeping, too. You must be concerned about my well-being." This about sent Hanabi over the edge, as it looked she would die from embarrassment, and probably would have if Mito and Hitomi hadn't grabbed onto each of her arms and dragged her off to where Naruto assumed the kitchen was, giggling all the way. "Stupid brats," Naruto said. He decided to take the time he had alone to explore the base. The walls were all made of stone and each room was connected with a dimly lit tunnel. Naruto assumed they were either underground or caved into the side of a mountain. The base was pretty well suited for everything and anything a missing nin might need. There were plenty of bedrooms, a large area for training, which by the looks of it Suigetsu had been using since there were cut-up training dummies everywhere. There was a small medical bay that Naruto probably should have gone to instead of just sleeping a Rasengan off. There was a library with books on just about everything, a dining room, the kitchen which Naruto could hear racket coming from so he didn't bother to go in, and some kind of meeting room. Naruto assumed he would get all his assessments there. Naruto took a seat in the dining room and waited for the girls to bring out his food, and thought about his new position with the Akatsuki. He would need to make the girls stronger since he was sure they would also be getting missions from the Akatsuki, and although it was unlikely they would been sent out on S-rank mission like Naruto was likely to be seen on, he doubted the missions they got were going to be simple escort missions. He would also have to get stronger. His fight with the leaf had shown him that he had been too dependent on his refection. While he was thinking of some new tricks, the girls brought his food. "Hope you enjoy," Hitomi said, setting the food in front of him. Naruto eyed each of the girls to see how they felt about joining the Akatsuki. They seemed happy. Hanabi seemed to have gotten over herself as her blush was gone, but the way Mito and Hitomi were eyeing her made Naruto think that a serious girl conversation had gone down in the kitchen. They would probably never tell him what they talked about, but Naruto had a theory he wanted to test. "This is pretty good," Naruto said, taking a bite of his food. "But I feel like it just isn't enough. Were there any maid costumes back there you three could wear?" Mito put her hand over her mouth, trying not to giggle, having guessed what Naruto was doing. Hitomi was looking at Naruto like he was the biggest pervert since Jiraiya, and poor little Hanabi's face was so red that Naruto was sure that if you touched it you'd burn your hand. Naruto chuckled as he took some more bites of his food, but then Zesta had to come and ruin his fun. "That's cruel of you," Zesta said, emerging from the floor besides Naruto. The black side seemed annoyed at the white side for making such a comment and decided they needed to get down to business. "Follow us, we need to discuss your position within the Akatsuki." Naruto got up and followed Zesta to the meeting room. The girls tried to follow, but Zesta took them. Only official Akatsuki members were allowed. Once they entered the room, a number of seals appeared on the wall that Naruto assumed were there to keep anyone from listening in. "First things first, welcome to the Akatsuki," Zesta said, handing Naruto the Akatsuki cloak and a red ring with the kanji for Shu on it. "Put the ring on your right middle finger." Naruto did, along with putting on the cloak. "The ring will allow you to use Pain's magic lantern body technique, which you'll need to help with the sealing of the jinchuriki." "That's great on all," Naruto said, admiring his new ring. "But could you just tell me what I have to do? This one's impatient. Maybe we should pair him with Sasori." Don't be stupid, Sasori already has a partner. Zesta said to himself. Hold on, what's this about a partner? Naruto said. Akatsuki working pairs of two. Lucky for you, or unlucky, Kisame, the man who was supposed to be your partner, was assigned to another member, due to a rather bloody accident, so as of right now we don't have a partner for you, so until we can find another person that meets the Akatsuki's requirements, you be supporting the girls on bounty hunting missions. I see, so basically I'm doing what I've already been doing, except I'm giving the money to the Akatsuki, Naruto said. If you want to think about it that way then sure. Zesta said. Can I pick my own targets? Naruto asked. As long as their bounty is worth the time and they aren't someone who will get the Akatsuki a lot of attention for taking out, so stink to missing neens. Zesta said. Well, if that's it then I better start finding some bounties. Naruto said, leaving the room. When he got off, the girls were waiting for him, no doubt having tried to listen in on them. That looks good on you. Mito said, eyeing the cloak. Maybe one day you'll get one, but for now you three have training to do. Naruto said. Go to the library and find an elemental jutsu you think you can learn, then go to the training room and learn it. I've got to talk to Suigetsu about what bounty we're going to go for. Hi, the girls said as they rushed off to the library. Now to find Suigetsu. Naruto said. Naruto and Suigetsu spent the rest of the day looking through the bingo book, secreting for an acceptable missing to hunt down that was in Mito's, Hanabi's, and Hitomi's skill range. Unfortunately for the girls, they found someone way out of their skill range, but too good to pass up, Raiga Kurisuki, one of the 7 swordsmen and currently missing Nin. This is pretty brutal for their first mission. I mean, look, this guy's Umbu level. Naruto said. Hey, if the brats want to become the new generation of the 7 swordsmen, then they'll have to get their hands on the 7 swords. Suigetsu said, eyeing the Kiba blade with a lustful look in his eye. Besides, your sister's Genin team had to face Sabuza on their first mission and they lived. I guess you're right, he has a nice bounty and getting that sword will boost their strength, but I want to let them finish learning the new elemental jutsusai assigned before heading out. Naruto said. But what if someone else gets to him before we do? Suigetsu said nervously. It will be fine, Naruto said. It didn't seem to calm Suigetsu down, however. If you're so worried about it, then go in there and help Hanabi with her water jutsu. Naruto had never seen Suigetsu move so fast. It only took 2 days for the girls to learn their jutsus thanks to Suigetsu's help. Then the group headed off to find Raiga. Naruto found out they were craved into the side of a mountain when they left the base. The girls were excited and nervous to be fighting someone of such high level. Naruto had promised them that if it looked like they were going to be killed then he'd step in, but other than that he wasn't going to help them at all, so the entire journey the girls spent discussing strategies and asking Suigetsu for information about Raiga and his skills. Once they finally made it to the small mining town that Raiga was in, the girls had a pretty good plan. Asking around the village, and although the villagers were hesitant to talk to Naruto due to his appearance, when the girls asked they revealed that Raiga had a small following called the Kurisuki family. Apparently they buried people alive. Well, that sucks. Come on Suigetsu, let's take out the grunts. Naruto said. I thought you said we weren't going to help them fight. Suigetsu said, but followed Naruto nonetheless. I didn't know he had a following. I don't want the girls getting tried out because they had to fight the cannon fodder. The group made their way towards Raiga's base on top of a mountain. Naruto and Suigetsu took out the Kurisuki family with little effort. Once they made it to the top, Raiga was waiting for them with the Kiba blade in hand. Although it was 2 separate blades, so he actually had one in each hand. He also had some sort of backpack on. Well, what do you know if it isn't Suigetsu? Are you here to take my head? Raiga asked. Yes and no. We are here to kill you, but I won't be one taking your head. Suigetsu said. Really, so I'm going to have to bury your friend here? Raiga said, looking at Naruto. Wrong on that too, you'll be fighting them. Suigetsu said as he and Naruto stepped to the side to show the 3 girls behind them. They'll be the ones killing you. Raiga looked at the girls who were staring at him intensely. Come on, do you really think 3 girls is enough to beat me? The girls looked annoyed before they each disappeared, then reappeared in the air on all sides of Raiga, prepared to attack. Don't take us lightly, Mito said. And you need to take me more seriously. Lightning Dragon Tornado. Raiga yelled as he put his swords above his head and started spinning. The result was a tornado of lightning that looked like a dragon. The girls were in the air and couldn't dodge, so they were all hit by the attack. It didn't do too much damage, but it did send them to the ground in a rather painful landing. Raiga stooped his jutsus facing Naruto and Suigetsu. Now how about you two give me a real fight? Raiga said and sent a lightning bolt from the tip of one his swords. Naruto put his hand out and let the lightning hit his palm before sending it in a random direction. Although putting his hand out wasn't necessary, it just made a greater effect than him just standing there. Why don't you focus on your own fight? Naruto said as Raiga was quickly forced to dodge a great fireball from Hitomi. Hanabi came up behind him and it looked like she was going to hit a few of his chakra points, but he somehow knew exactly where she was. He turned around and gave her a nice slash on her cheek. She was forced to pull back to avoid getting seriously hurt. How did he know I was behind him? I didn't make a sound, Hanabi thought. Hanabi would have to put that thought on the back burner for now. Water bullet, she shouted as she sent a stream of water from her mouth and onto the ground under Raiga. Come on, it's going to take more than a little water to beat me, Raiga teased. Lightning bolt, Mito yelled as she shot a strand of lightning from her fingers at the water that Hanabi had laid down. Raiga stuck his swords into the water and they acted like upside-down lightning rods and absorbed all the lightning Mito had shot. Did you really think you would get me with a lightning jutsu like that? I show you a real lightning jutsu, Raiga said as he pulled his swords out of the ground and lifted them into the air. Fangs of lightning, he shouted as 2 huge bolts of lightning were sent into the cloud. The girls only had a second to realize what was going on before lightning bolts rained from the sky and barely missed them. They had to run around trying their best to not get hit by the endless number of blots. Hanabi used palm rotation to block the bolts, but Mito and Hitomi weren't as lucky. They tried to run behind Raiga, but somehow he still knew exactly where they were and they were hit. The pain was unbelievable. It felt like their entire bodies were being roasted inside out. Smoke escaped from their mouths as the lightning heated their organs. They both collapsed to the ground as the Raiga stopped his jutsu. Hanabi was horrified to see her friends in so much pain, but as Naruto hadn't stepped in, she knew they at least were alive. There was one other thing. Hanabi had noticed something that she hadn't been able to see when fighting up close. The pack on Raiga's back was giving off its own chakra signature. There was someone inside it, and Hanabi bet whoever it was the reason that Raiga knew where they were even if they weren't in his line of sight. Hitomi, Mito, aim for his backpack, Hanabi yelled, even if she didn't know if they could respond or even continue fighting for that matter. Raiga showed the briefest expression of panic when Hanabi said that, however, so she knew she was on the right track. Raiga did not find Hanabi's plan as helpful as she did, so he rushed her. Hanabi was forced to dodge the expert swordplay of Raiga. This pretty much put her on the defensive, as any attack she tried would likely get her chopped into pieces. Not that she was doing a great job of keeping up with Raiga anyways. His attacks were just too fast and Hanabi too slow. She managed to avoid being hit anywhere vital, but the cut down her arms and stomach were begging to get very painful. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain, Hitomi and Mito were trying to get to their feet, which was a surprisingly hard task to accomplish. Every muscle they moved sent a shock of pain throughout their entire body, but seeing Hanabi fight so hard finally gave them the strength to get up. They would have to believe in Hanabi and trust that attacking Raiga's backpack would somehow give them an advantage. He seemed distracted fighting Hanabi, but since he seemed to know where they were at all times, if they tried to rush him, he'd turn his attention back to them. Mito, I have a plan, Hitomi said. It's more than I have, Mito replied. Hanabi was getting hit more and more often as the battle dragged on. She knew she was in a bad situation as she had seen Naruto getting ready to intervene on more than one occasion during one of Raiga's attacks that would hit one of Hanabi's vitals, but she would always just manage to dodge. It looked like they had lost and it would be up to Naruto to take out Raiga, but there was one more thing the girls were going to try. Hanabi saw Hitomi running up behind Raiga with a kunai in hand. Raiga noticed her and looked over his shoulder to keep an eye on Hitomi. When he did, Hitomi threw her kunai, which had an explosive tag on it. Raiga just held up one of his swords to hit it out of the way, but before he could, Mito shot lightning at the kunai, causing the tag to go off prematurely, covering Raiga in smoke. Raiga, having suddenly lost sight of Hitomi, started talking to his bag to try and find out where she was. Hitomi had already pulled out another kunai and was getting close to Raiga. Something was off. Though, for Hitomi it seemed like the world was moving slower and sharper than ever before, so when she finally got close enough to Raiga to strike, she could see the swings of his swords and dodged then. Raiga could tell that he wasn't going to be able to hit Hitomi in time, so he stepped back as Hitomi made her swing. Hitomi didn't make contact with him, but she did cut the strap on his backpack, causing it fall off. Raiga made a desperate grab for the bag, losing all focus on the girls. This allowed Hanabi to get in close and block a number of his chakra points on his arm. He dropped one of the swords while his other hand was holding onto the bat and a sword. It was amazing how just one attack had changed the whole battle. Raiga was outnumbered, and with only one hand holding two things, he was in trouble. The girls quickly realized that targeting the bag would cause Raiga to let himself be hit if he couldn't block or dodge, instead of letting the weapons pierce the bag. Raiga was still an umbu and hard to hit, but since his offensive weapons weren't very effective with only one arm, he was slowly going down. As the girls continued to land hit after hit, a voice coming from inside the bag made itself more apparent, pleading with Raiga to leave him and run, but Raiga stood his ground up until the very end, and even with all the attacks, Raiga never let a single one hit the bag. Once Raiga collapsed, the girl did the same. They were bloody and out of breath, but they had taken down one of the 7 swordsmen all by themselves. "Hitomi, your eyes." Mito gasped. "What about them?" Hitomi asked. "Why don't you take a look?" Suigetsu said, holding the flat of his sword to Hitomi's face so she could see the reflection. Hitomi gasped. She had awoken her Sharingan. Each of her eyes had 2 tomos in them. After Hitomi had some time to take it in, Suigetsu followed Naruto to Raiga body, or more especially the bag. The bag was making a soft crying noise as Naruto and Suigetsu looked at it. "Who do you think's in there?" Suigetsu asked. "It doesn't matter, he's just another one of Raiga's grunts," Naruto said. "He seemed to actually care for this one though," Suigetsu said. "Just because he did doesn't mean we should," Naruto said. "Guess you're right," Suigetsu said, making his hand into a finger gun and firing water bullets at the bag. The crying stooped as blood seeped through the newly created holes. Naruto went around and collected the swords as Suigetsu cut off Raiga's head so they could get the bounty. "These are yours now," Naruto said, handing the 2 blades to Mito. "You have lighting nature, so it only makes sense that you should get the Kiba." "Thank you," Mito said, accepting the swords. "That's great," Suigetsu said, sounding really excited. "Now I can train you in Kenjutsu, but first you'll have to follow the old tradition of the 7 swordsmen, getting your teeth sharpened," Suigetsu said, showing off his own sharpened teeth. "What, I don't want my teeth sharpened?" Mito yelled. "Hey, every one of the swordsmen did it," Suigetsu stated. "Raiga didn't have his teeth sharpened," Mito said. "Let me tell you a secret. The swordsman's power comes from 2 things: their swords and their teeth. Raiga lost because he didn't have the second thing," Suigetsu said. "That sounds like a load of crap. Come on, Accelerator, you can't let him sharpen my teeth," Mito pleaded. "My hands are tied. If Suigetsu won't teach you Kenjutsu unless your teeth get sharpened, then it looks like you don't have a choice," Naruto said with his own dark smile that Mito suddenly thought would look good if his own teeth were sharpened. Back in Konoha, Minato had called Kushina and Jiraiya to his office. What's this about? Kushina asked. Minato sighed. He knew Kushina wasn't going to like what he had in mind. I've decided what to do about Naruto. I'm going to put him in the bingo book as an S rank under his real name. Minato, you can't do that. Naruto will be killed. Kushina yelled. He's already in the bingo book. Minato yelled back. Besides, I'm putting in additional information that I want him to be brought back to Konoha alive for a huge reward. This should make any bounty hunter that wants to kill Naruto for Kumobicure's bounty think twice, and since he'll be under his real name, I think people will get why I want him alive. But what about all the people who want him dead, because he's related to you? Jiraiya questioned. I'll just have to trust their greed for money is higher than their anger for revenge. Minato said. Kushina still didn't want her son to be a target for the whole world, but if it was the best chance to get their son back, then she would just have to hope for the best. So the next day, Accelerator's bingo book profile was updated to now say Naruto Namake's Accelerator S rank. Suigetsu's sword clashed against Mito's, and Mito was sent to the floor drooping both of her swords. Suigetsu sighed as he stuck his sword in the ground. Come on, brat, you should be able to stop that. I didn't even swing that hard. I'm still learning, Mito said, getting up and picking up her swords. They had come back to the base after defeating Raiga. Suigetsu had immediately started training Mito in Kenjutsu. Now Mito had been slowly catching up to Suigetsu in Taijutsu, but in Kenjutsu Suigetsu was miles ahead. One of the biggest problems Mito was having was holding two swords at the same time. Mito heavily favored her right hand, so her coordination with the two swords were way off. Most of the time she would only swing her right sword while her left sword hung at her side. She wasn't the only one training. Hanabi and Hitomi had been sparring. Hanabi was trying to work on her gentle fists while Hitomi was working on her Sharingan by trying to predict Hanabi's moves. Naruto was also training, but his was a lot different than anyone else's. Naruto was reading an advanced mathematic book that gave Mito a headache just from looking at the page-long equations. Mito had assumed that Naruto was looking for a way to fix the weakness in his reflection, but when she asked him about it, he said that his reflection couldn't get any better when it came to reflecting taijutsu, so he would just have lived with that weakness. Mito was still didn't really understanding Naruto's powers, just accepted Naruto's answer. Mito knew, however, that Naruto wouldn't just ignore the weakness. If his reflection couldn't be modified to stop Lee's punches, then he would do something else that could. This training continued for a couple days until Zesta came to give Naruto a mission. Naruto walked back in the meeting room with Zestu. Got something you need me and the brats to do? Naruto asked. No, this is an actually Akatsuki mission. Zesta said. I thought I could only do bounty hunting mission with the brats until I got a partner. Oh shit. Naruto said, thinking about it. Don't panic yet, we still haven't found you a partner, but you won't be going alone. Say hello to your new temporary partner. Zesta said with a creepy but somehow childish smile. Naruto looked around the room hoping someone other than Zesta would pop into existence. No such luck. What's our mission? Naruto sighed. Don't sound too disappointed, we're going someplace where you can get something you want, like one of the 7 swords. Zesta said. Kirigakure, I guess I could get the brats a souvenir. Naruto said. Before we go, I think you need to have a look at this. Zesta said, handing Naruto a bingo book. Naruto saw what page Zesta was open to and received a slight shock. So how did they find out? Naruto asked, seeing his real name on the page. Don't know, but it's here. Zesta said. Naruto put the book down inside. His secret was out and he was sure more ninja were after him than ever before. It wouldn't be so bad, but damn, that bounty Minato placed on him for bringing him back alive was fucking huge. Naruto wouldn't be surprised if he had the largest active bounty in the bingo book right now. That sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it, so what's the mission? Naruko was trying to cut a leaf with her chakra and so far no luck. It was so frustrating. Why did chakra natures have to be so hard? At least she wasn't the only one having problems. Minama wasn't having much success on her chakra nature either. The girls have been training ever since they found out Naruto was Accelerator. Naruko still hadn't decided if she wanted to take Jiraiya up on his offer, so until she could make a decision she would be training with Minama under Minato and Kushina. First lesson Chakra Nature, Naruko had wind and Minama had lightning. Kushina told Naruko that wind was rare to have something that Naruko took great pride in. Both Minato and Kushina had lighting nature, so it was no surprise that Minama also had it. This wasn't a bad thing for Minama, however, as Kushina could teach her a lot faster than she could with Naruko. With Naruko and Minama taking lessons from their parents, Team 7 had been disbanded with Sasuke now taking lessons from Itachi. Kakashi was doing whatever Kakashi did in his free time. Naruko opened her hand again to check up on the leaf and was surprised to see she had actually made a small cut. Normally she would have jumped for joy at her progress, but she just didn't feel like she had gotten anywhere. The ability to cut a leaf wouldn't do her any good against Naruto, who just made S rank, and who knows how powerful the Akatsuki is. Naruko guessed she only had herself to blame. If only she had taken being a ninja seriously back in the academy, then maybe her brother wouldn't have such a head start on her in terms of skill. She was sure Orochimaru didn't let Naruto slack off like her parents let Naruko do. Naruko sighed thinking about her brother and went back to cutting her leaf. The next couple of days went incredibly slowly. It seemed like everyone in the leaf was just waiting for information. Information about Mito, information about the Akatsuki, but mainly information about Naruto. The leaf was tense to say the least. By now everyone knew that the Hokage had listed Naruto in the bingo book, and it seemed like the whole ninja population, not just in Konoha but everywhere, were ready to mobilize it just a clue to Naruto's location. I was a race to see who could get to him first. Would it be the bounty hunters looking to capture Naruto for the money? Would it be the leaf who wanted to bring Naruto home, or would it be Minato's enemies who were ready to kill him? These questions would plague the Namikaze family every night. However, there was one village that didn't care about the Namikaze's lost son, Kirigakure. No one could really blame them. They did just finished up a bloody civil war that has led to the rule of the 5th Mizukage, and fixing a ninja village hardly left time for concern about other ninja villages. So it just happened to be the perfect place for Naruto to turn up. Naruto was standing on a mountain overlooking the village hidden in the mist. Naruto was wearing a straw hat to avoid being identified. The village looked like absolute crap. Buildings were in disrepair, some of them looking about ready to fall over. From what Naruto could see, the streets were littered with beggars and prostitutes. It looked even worse with the cloud-covered sky that was blocking all the moonlight from the night sky. While Naruto was admiring the city, Zesto emerged up through the gourd next to him. "You know, for a partner you don't stick around for too long, Naruto," Naruto said, since once they left the base and Zesto explained the mission to Naruto, he had immediately merged through the gourd and left Naruto to walk all the way by himself. "I think he missed us. Do you remember the mission?" Zesta said. "Of course I remember the mission," Naruto said. "Good, then we wouldn't need to talk till the mission is complete. Make sure you don't get killed," Zesta said before submerging back into the ground. "It was nice talking to you too," Naruto said to himself. The mission Zesto had given him was beyond weird. Naruto had to kill a bunch of seemingly random prisoners that had been captured in the Civil War, and Zesta's job was to destroy some document from the 4th Mizukage. Naruto didn't know why the Akatsuki wanted these guys dead, but Naruto didn't think the Akatsuki would send them out here for no reason, so it must be important. The problem was that this was a stealth mission, and Naruto wasn't exactly a stealthy person to begin with. Add a huge bounty combined with a village that could really use the money, then you have the worst mission ever. Naruto didn't have time to curse his luck, however, because he had a mission to do. Naruto created 4 tornadoes coming from his back, his cloak swung wildly around him, and Naruto had to hold onto his hat to keep it from falling off. Once Naruto had adjusted his tornadoes slightly, he felt confident to us his new technique. He had never used it before, but all his calculations said it would work, and as long as the calculations said it would work, then Naruto was confident he could do it first try. Naruto pushed off the ground and started flying. It worked just how Naruto calculated it would. By moving his tornadoes in different direction, Naruto was able to push himself in any direction and hover in midair if he wanted. It was a little awkward at first since Naruto had to do all the calculations for the wind speed, but once he got that down he was flying as if he had been doing it for years. Naruto flew high into the skies above Kirigakure, staying in the clouds to keep out of sight. It was a good thing Kirigakure was so disorganized, since normally it'd be impossible to land in a major ninja village without getting spotted, but right now there was a bunch of abandoned area in the village that made for a perfect landing zone. Once Naruto landed, he stopped his tornadoes and made his way to one of the slums. Naruto expected to stand out a little more in his Akatsuki cloak, but pretty everyone in the slums were wearing some kind of strange outfit, probably because it was the only things they could find. It didn't take long for Naruto to find the prison, since it was one of the few buildings that was in somewhat decent shape. Naruto spent the next hour scooping out the place, learning the guards' movement and forming his plan of attack. The guards seemed to be anywhere from mid-chunin to high jounin, and they were all especially tense. The building was a medium-sized structure that was made entirely out on concrete. There were no windows and only 2 doors, one in the front and one in the back. Naruto assumed that the cells would be in the basement of the building. Now the question was how to get inside. It would be so much easier if Naruto could just kill them all, but no, this was a stealth mission. Naruto sighed. It looked like he was going to have to use the oldest trick in the book. He walked over to a nearby building that looked like it would collapse at a moment's notice. This would be perfect. Naruto could use vectors to make the building fall and everyone would just think it fell naturally, and that's just what Naruto did. The building fell and a bunch of the guards ran over to check the damage and to see if anyone needed help. While this was going on, Naruto walked through the back door. "What idiots," Naruto said to himself as he walked down the dark hallways and down the stairs. "Hey, who are you?" was all the guard could say before Naruto sent a pebble through his head. "Man, one guard stayed behind to watch the prisons. This village is worse off than I thought," Naruto said, getting the attention of the prisoners. "Hey, are you here to free us?" one of the prisoners said. "Well, I'm not freeing you, but I am getting you out of here," Naruto said, sending a pebble through the bars. This caused the other prisoners to panic and move as far back in their cells as they could. It didn't help, as Naruto went around killing everyone that was on his list. Once that was done, Naruto left the prison just as easily as he had entered. The guards were still helping the people that were hurt in the collapse, so it would be a little bit before they would discover the bodies. This gave Naruto time to head to the armory. The armory was way better guarded than the prison, and Naruto had no idea where the swords could be. He was looking for one specific sword, and finding it without knowing where to go would be a problem. Likely for Naruto, help arrived in the form of a plant. "How'd it go?" Zestu asked. "It was way too easy. They only left one person to guard the prisoners after my distraction," Naruto replied. "Ours was equally as easy. It seems like this new Mizukage isn't so great on defense. Give her a break, she only been in office for a week," Zesta said. "I don't care about that, I just want to get in there," Naruto said, pointing to the armory. "So you're really going to steal a sword?" Zestu asked. "Sure am," Naruto replied. "Which one?" "We can get it a lot easier than you can," Zesta said. "The new Abari," Naruto said. "Wait here," Zesta said, submerging into the ground. Naruto, now not having to go get the sword himself, waited for Zesta to come back. When he did, he gave Naruto the sword and they left the village just as the prisoners' bodies were being discovered. Naruto could hear sword clashing as he entered the base. He quietly walked into the training room so he could see what was going on. Mito was sparring with Suigetsu, and Naruto could already see improvements in her kenjutsu. She was using both swords now, although she was still favoring her right hand, and his swordplay looked sharper. This wasn't enough to get Suigetsu to really try, but it was good progress. Hitomi was reading a book, and Hanabi looked like she was practicing a water jutsu. They were all too busy to notice that Naruto had returned. Hey, heads up! Naruto yelled. Hanabi turned to see a long needle speeding towards her. She barely had time to dodge before the needle embedded itself in the wall behind her. What the hell? You almost killed me! Hanabi screamed. What are you talking about? I was just giving you your present. Naruto said, chuckling to himself. But if you don't want it, then I'm sure Hitomi will be glad to take it. Hanabi puffed out her cheeks and walked over to dislodge the needle. Hanabi knew exactly what it was since she had to listen to Suigetsu's lecture about the swords along with Mito and Hitomi. So you went to Kirigakure on your mission? Hanabi asked. Yeah, Naruto replied. How was my home village looking? Suigetsu asked. Like crap, Naruto said. Buildings were falling down and the ninja were so bad that I was able to complete my mission in no time at all and get that sword without even being detected, one of the 5 major ninja villages, my ass. So why did you get me the new Abari? Hanabi asked. If you hate it so much, then give it to Hitomi. She must be feeling left out being the only one to not have one of the 7 swords. Naruto said sarcastically. That's not what I meant, if you know it. Hanabi said with a small blush on her face. I thought it would be the best sword for you given your eyes. Naruto said, explain his reasoning. I thought it was strange that the Hyugas could see 360 degrees and farther than most people but used close-range combat. Well, that sword will allow you to take full advantage of your eyes by allowing you to attack at long range along with still being usable for short range. Hanabi looked at the new Abari in a new light. She had never even considered using her eyes for long-range attacks, but the more she thought about, she wondered why the Hyugas never focused on long range. Probably because the elders thought close-range fighting reflected the Hyugas in a better light than begin cowards who stay away from their enemies. Thank you, Naruto. Hanabi said. If you really want to thank me, then show me you have what it takes to use that sword. Naruto said. Hi, Hanabi said energetically as she ran over to Suigetsu to learn how to use the new Abari. Naruko avoided 2 of Minima's chains. Great breakthrough! She yelled as she sent a strong gust of air at Minima. Minima dropped to her stomach as the jutsu flew overhead. Naruko was about to launch another one when she sensed something below her and jumped out of the way just as one of Minima's chains ripped through the ground. While Naruko was in midair, she threw 2 kunais at Minima, who had to roll out of the way and stand back up. Minima retaliated with her own kunais, but these were lightning charged and were going much faster than Naruko's. Naruko was just barely able to avoid them as one even nicked her arm. Okay, that's enough. Minato said, standing up to stop the match. What, I haven't even got you use my ace. Minima complained. That may be so, but you 2 have been training all day and a long spar just wouldn't be good for you. I mean, just look at yourselves. Kushina said, who had also been watching the match along with Jiraiya. It was only now Minima realized that her clothes were stinking to her skin thanks to all the sweat she had produced. Naruko was in a similar state. Why don't you 2 wash up and I'll go make dinner? Kushina said. Hi, the girls said, starting to walk off to their bathrooms. Jiraiya also stood up and for some reason started following them. Jiraiya, if you try to sneak a peek at my daughters, there'll be hell to pay. Kushina said, her hair rising with a deadly aura. That not what I was doing, I swear. Jiraiya said, holding his hand out in front of him. Minima and Naruko didn't get to hear what happened to Jiraiya as they had already left the room. Naruko felt the warm water hit her face and run down her body. It was so nice to be able to relax a little. Naruko's days had been non-stop training. She wasn't complaining. It was nice to be able to get stronger, but it could just be a little much. Hey Naruko, I've been meaning to ask you. Have you decided if you're going to train with Jiraiya? Minima said from the other side of the wall. Although Naruko and Minima had separate bathrooms, they were only separated by one wall, and it just so happened that the showers shared that wall. So they could have conversations with each other if one of them didn't turn the water on too loud. No, I haven't. Why'd you ask? Naruko said. I think you should. Minama said. What, if I left for 3 years it would just be you, Tusan and Kasan, wouldn't you be lonely? Naruko asked. Probably, but we've all experienced Naruto's power and at the rate we're never going to catch up to him. Minama said, and somehow Naruko knew Minama was touching her scar. The only thing that I can think of to beat him is get power the same way he did, under a Sannin. I don't think Jiraiya will give me the same kind of power Orochimaru gave Naruto. Naruko said, trying to laugh at her own joke. That may be so, but he managed to make Tusan strong enough to be Hokage. So even if you only return from your training trip a minuscule stronger than you would have been if you stayed, then it just puts you a little bit closer to Naruto. And don't think I'm not going to be busting my ass while you're away, because I'm not going to let you get that far ahead of me. Minama said. Naruko thought about it for a long time as the water ran down her body like a cloak of water. Do you really think I should? Naruko asked. Definitely. Dinner was nice. Kushina had made a great meal just like always and everyone seemed happy, but no one was saying anything. There was no conversation about anything good or bad. Naruko felt like they somehow knew that tonight she was going to say something important and they didn't want their talking to interfere with hers. Naruko sighed. I've made my decision, I want to train with Jiraiya. Naruko said. No one asked why she had decided so suddenly, but Minama looked happy, Jiraiya was smiling like he had just peeked in the bathhouse, Minato and Kushina looked sad but they seemed to know this was the right decision. That's when Naruko realized. You knew I was going to make my decision tonight. Yeah, Minama told us how she was going to try and talk you into it. Kushina said. I can't say I'm happy to see you go, but I know you'll come back stronger than ever. Minato said. Well, it looks like you get to spend 3 years with your hero. I'm sure you excited. Jiraiya said. Naruko looked at all the smiling faces at the table and felt better than she had felt in a long time. I promise I'll make you proud. Naruko said. The next day Naruko and Jiraiya left. Only Minato, Kushina, and Minama knew they were leaving. The rest of the village would find out soon enough, but Naruko didn't want them to know when they were leaving because she didn't want them to think this was goodbye, because it wasn't. It was a promise that in 3 years all the problems that had built up over the last 12 years Naruko would finally be strong enough to fix them, and the village would be too. Hanabi's and Mito's Kenjutsu was coming along well. They were both sparing against Suigetsu, and although they weren't nearly strong enough to give Suigetsu any trouble, he actually had to try now. Naruto was half watching the spar when something unexpected happened. Hanabi used some tricky footwork and managed to get behind Suigetsu. She stabbed her Nuabari through Suigetsu's head, making it explode in water. Naruto sighed as he used his vectors to force his chakra to go insane. The genjutsu that was on him broke, revealing that Hanabi had never hit Suigetsu. You're going to have to do better than that, Naruto said to Hitomi. Hitomi had been training her genjutsu and her goal was to cast a genjutsu on Naruto without him noticing, but so far that hadn't worked. How did you know? She asked. There is no way Hanabi would be able to hit Suigetsu with just kenjutsu at the stage she's at, Naruto said. If you wanted to do something more relivable, you should have had Suigetsu seriously injure Hanabi. One day I'll get you, Hitomi said. I'm sure, Naruto said sarcastically. I see you are in high spirits, Zesta said, emerging from the wall Naruto had been leaning on. You always show up at the most inconvenient times, Naruto said. We found your new partner, sucks for you, so get ready, we're going to the land of hot water, Zesta said. Fine, let's get going, I just hope I can keeping myself from killing him, Naruto said. You brats better not wreck the place while I'm gone. Hi, the girls said. I don't think killing him will be a problem, Zesta said. Naruto was in the land of hot water looking for his future partner with Zesta walking beside him. Yes, walking beside him, something Naruto thought Zesta incapable of doing until now. So who is this guy? Naruto asked. A ninja by the name of Haydn. His village was turned into a tourist spot. He didn't like that, so he killed as many people as he could before he fled. Zesta said. I see. You know, you never told me what happened that caused Kisame to be paired with someone else. Naruto said. Kakaza killed his third partner in pain, was getting feed up with replace them, so he matched him up with Kisame, who was calm and strong enough to not make Kakaza mad and end up getting killed. Zesta said, sounding somewhat entertained by the idea of all those killings. Well, Kakaza sounds like a swell guy, can't wait to meet him. Naruto said, and not for the first time thought about what kind of crazy organization he had joined. We have to meet Haydn first. Zesta said. That great, but who knows how long we'll have to wait before we find him. Naruto said. Turns out not long since, just as Naruto said that, a guy holding a triple-bladed scythe jumped from a tree and tried to skewer them. Naruto and Zesta dodged to the side just as the weapon priced the ground. I'm guessing you're Haydn. Naruto said. Who the fuck wants to know? Haydn said, pulling his scythe out of the ground. We're part of an organization called the Akatsuki, and we would like for you to join us. Zesta said. Why the hell would I join a shitty organization? All I want to do is kill people and please Jashin. Haydn said. I must insist. Zesta said, not sounding too friendly. I told you I'm not joining your organization. Haydn yelled. That's a shame, it looks like we'll be doing this the hard way. Naruto, if you would. Zesta said, looking towards Naruto. Naruto sighed. I was hoping it wouldn't have to go this way, but it looks like I'm going to have to force you to joining. You're going to force me? What are you, like 10? Haydn laughed. I'm more than old engaged to beat you. Naruto sighed as he pushed off the ground towards Haydn. Haydn was surprised how fast this kid was and was barely able to block his fist with his scythe. Jashin will savor your blood. Haydn said as swiped his scythe down on Naruto's head. Naruto pushed himself backwards so Haydn's scythe hit nothing but ground. Naruto wasn't going to be so reliant on his reflection anymore, so if he could dodge he would, even if the chances of Haydn getting through were next to zero. Better safe than a scythe through your head. Naruto reached into his pocket and took out his ball and threw it to the side so it bounced off the trees. Then Naruto stared, firing his pebbles at Haydn. He used his scythe to block the pebbles, but he forgot about the ball, which hit him in the side. The ball bounced off Haydn before bouncing off some trees and making its way back to Naruto. Damn, that hurt. Haydn complained. Just join the Akatsuki, it will be easier. Naruto said. I fucking told you that, my not joining. Haydn yelled as he charged Naruto. Naruto in reaction threw a pebble which he expected Haydn to block, but he didn't. Instead, the pebble went right through where his heart. Damn, I killed him, Naruto thought. But that wasn't the case, Haydn was still charging him. Naruto was so shocked that a man who was supposed to be dead was still running at him that Naruto didn't dodge. He would have been killed if it wasn't for his reflection. Haydn's scythe hit it and the force of the impact was enough to make Haydn fall to the ground. Hey, what the hell, why didn't I hit you? Haydn yelled. Sorry, but thanks to my powers you can't hit me, but what I want to know is how you're still alive? Naruto said. I'm immortal. Haydn replied. Then it looks like we're at a stalemate. You can't hit me and I can't kill you, so it looks like you'll be joining the Akatsuki. Naruto said. What makes you think I'll join the Akatsuki? You just said it was stalemate. Haydn said. It may be true that I can't kill you, but I can rip you into tiny pieces, then shoot those pieces all over the elemental nation, and if that happens you won't be able to please Jashin. Naruto said. Haydn scoured, probably trying to weigh his options. He knew that if he couldn't hit Naruto then there was no way he could win. Eventually Haydn's reason got the better of him. Fine, I guess I'll join your shitty Akatsuki. I'm glad you accepted, Zesta said, handing Haydn an Akatsuki cloak and an orange ring which Zesta instructed Haydn to put on his left index finger. Let's get going, partner, Naruto said. Naruto and Haiden walked back to the base with Haiden complaining the entire way. When they finally did reach the base, they were met by an odd sight. Suigetsu had Hanabi on the ground and Suigetsu was holding some kind of chisel. Once Hanabi saw Naruto, she started screaming. "Naruto, help me, Suigetsu trying to sharpen my teeth." "Who the fuck are these people?" Haiden yelled. Naruto sighed. He had a lot of explain to do. Mito couldn't believe how much power was in this one room. It was so much that she was sweating, and by the looks of it Hanabi and Hitomi weren't doing too much better. Suigetsu looked okay, but he kept eyeing this guy who looked like a shark. The reason they were here is because about a week after Naruto came back with his new partner Zesta told them that for the first time in a long time all Akatsuki members were meeting, and that include non-official members, so they headed out to the meeting's location. Mito didn't really know what to think of Haiden. He obviously didn't like them, and he didn't appear to like Naruto either, but he was strong. He spared with Suigetsu once, and Suigetsu would have surely died if he wasn't made out of water. Other than that, Haiden kept to himself and didn't really come out of his room. He also did these weird rituals. Mito thought he was just the freak to join the Akatsuki, but after arriving to this meeting Mito realized Haiden was the norm. "Now that we're all here, I'll begin," Pain said. "The Akatsuki will soon be making it moves to capture the 9-tailed beasts, but until we're ready we will not be doing any more missions. Instead we are going to lay low and train for 3 years. Are you fucking kidding me? I just joined and you're telling me I have to do nothing for 3 years?" Haiden said. "Haiden, shut up," Naruto said, releasing some killing instinct that didn't affect Haiden. "As I was saying, after those 3 years are up you'll each be hunting one of the tailed beasts, and as a secondary goal Orochimaru, although who will take him out will be assigned later," Pain said. "As for who will be hunting each beast, it will be assigned by lottery." The women standing beside Pain produced a bunch of papers and put them in a basket. "You'll each choose one, and the 2 that are left over we be giving to me and Conan. Also the location of the 3 tails is unknown, so Zesta will be giving that one and find out where it is. Once he does, it will be determined which team will take it down." The basket was passed around and every member took one. It was a childish way of doing things, but it was the easiest way to assign the tailed beasts without people fighting over them, and with the already tense atmosphere in the room a fight wasn't too hard to imagine. "Please read off your number." "The number is the number of tails the beast that you're hunting has," Pain said. 1, Deidara said. 5, his partner Sasori said. 4, Kisame said. 8, Kakazu said. 2, Haiden said. 7, Naruto said. "That gives me and Conan 6 and 9. Pain said. "Now that you have all been assigned a tailed beast, return to your base and be ready, because in 3 years the Akatsuki is going to shake up the world."
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.